Welcome everyone. Joss Lewis here from Ockham Residential. With me today is Helen O'Sullivan, the CEO of Crockers. So Crockers is the leading independent provider of body corporate services. I just wanted to welcome you today, Helen. Welcome.
Kia ora. Thank you, Joss. Good morning.
So Crockers manage over 22,000 units across New Zealand. So if anyone knows a thing or two about body corporates, it ought to be you, Helen.
We've certainly learned a thing or two in our 49 years in business. And if there's,
So I just take the opportunity to pick your brains today a little bit and just ask you some questions that people typically ask me when they come in, when they may be looking to buy an apartment for the first time and they haven't had much involvement previously with body corporates. So it can be a little bit of a mystery, a bit of an enigma.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I thought I'd just fire you some questions if that's okay with you. And
fire away.
Awesome. Okay, great. So I guess the first and foremost, what is a body corporate?
Really good question. Look, a body corporate is a very special kind of legal entity that comes into existence when you have a unit titled property. So the apartments that Ockham are selling are unit titled, and that means that each unit is sort of part of a larger property or complex, and within that complex there will be what's called common property. That is areas which are common to all of the units in the development, and so everybody owns a little piece of them. And the body corporate is the entity which exists to own and manage the affairs related to just that common property. So, for example, in an apartment building, that will be, say, the lobby and the lifts and the stairs, as well as the outer envelope of the building. In, say, your gorgeous development in the Hobsonville Point, Benelli Gardens, that communal property includes the garden and the lounge. And so the body corporate is the entity that owns all of that common property, and it exists to raise all the funds necessary to run all of that for the year. And you, as an owner of a unit within a unit title complex, automatically become part of that body corporate as you know when you become an owner. So you're automatically and compulsorily part of it. You can't opt in or out. You are automatic. So you, as the owners, are the body corporate.
Okay. Yep. Okay, that makes sense. So how do you go about setting the budget, and how are the individual fees set for each individual apartment owner?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So the body corporate will have a whole bunch of expenses that it is going to incur in any given year. In a new development, the developer will generally put together a budget for that body corporate as part of their marketing process, and will kind of estimate the costs that the BC is going to incur once it starts operating. Once that first process has happened, so when the body corporate comes into existence, when the unit title development is formed, at that last point where titles issue, at that point a general meeting is held. There's only one owner at that point in time, and so they will approve or pass the budget, and then the fees are allocated to each of the units within the building. That's done on the basis of what is called utility interest for operating costs and ownership interest for capital costs. The one you'll hear most about is utility interest. That's basically the pro rata allocation of this unit A is, it's done on a valuation. So unit A, say, is worth $400,000 as part of a bigger complex, which is worth, $10 million. And so the utility interest becomes 400,000 divided by 10 million, and that's the total budget for the body corporate for the year is allocated to each of the units based on their pro rata value relative to the totality of the complex, and those become your BC levies for the year. Going forward into the future, once you're a formed BC, you'll have a committee, and you as a body corporate and as owners will meet once a year, determine what your budget is going to be for the year and approve it, and that happens every year for the rest of the life of the development.
Great, okay. So in terms of the fee, when I'm looking at a budget, how can I tell if the budget is reasonable or if it's comprehensive. So, I mean, often I get people when they come in who sometimes comment that the fees seem really high. Conversely, I sometimes get people who comment that they seem really reasonable. So how do people go about getting their heads around that?
Yeah, look, that's a really good question, Jules. What you need to do is analyse that, get a copy of the budget and consider it in the context of the development itself. So what you're looking for is that each line, that there is a line in the budget for each element of the building. You know, if, for example, you've got a pool, then you would be expecting to see pool cleaning and maintenance costs in the budget being provided for. You'd be expecting to see chemical costs. If you have a large apartment building with a lift, you'd be expecting to see a lift maintenance contract. So it's about analysing the budget and comparing it to the building and making sure that everything is provided for. One of the key things you do have to bear in mind, though, with a body corporate is, you know, in a unit, in this complex, you're seeing all of your costs in one place and in one go. If you buy a standalone property, you know, you will have insurance costs, you'll have maintenance costs, you will have, you know, bills that you're going to have to pay during the year, and you will be even, you know, mentally providing for depreciation on that building and the long-term costs that you will have to you know, bear into the future. In a body corporate, because of the formalised structure, you're seeing all of that in one place and in one go, so it can look a bit daunting. But if you're looking at a unit to purchase, phase to also look at a standalone building and go, well, what would the costs be of that standalone building compared to this unit title building? And, you know, if I put all of the costs from my standalone home in one place in one go, how would it compare to this? And also bear in mind the long-term maintenance plan you'll be providing for in a BC. That's where you're basically putting a little bit aside every year into your big capital future expenses fund, so that when the time comes in 15 or 20 years and you need to do a big piece of work like a major refit of a lift or something, you've got some money put away for it rather than getting socked with the whole bill all in one go. And again, that differs from a standalone home, so you've got to take that kind of long-term value equation.
Okay. The other thing people always want to know is whether the fees are set or whether they're likely to increase. I guess a lot of people are concerned that fees could suddenly start to go up and make them unaffordable.
Sure. Look, the key thing is that going into the future, it's you and your fellow owners that will determine that budget. First, of course, you need to make sure that the first year's budget is reasonable, because you do sometimes see developments where the budget is seriously undercooked. And it is going to increase because they haven't provided for such that, you know, there might be $10 per unit in the long-term maintenance fund. That's obviously not going to be adequate going into the future. But if the budget is based on a sensible basis to begin with, you know, yes, there will be some incremental increases because inflation goes up, etc., etc. But if it's been set on a logical basis in the first place, that shouldn't come as a horrible shock to you into the future. And then ultimately, you as the owners of the BC will be determining what it is that you collectively as a community are going to spend on your complex and how you're going to maintain value on it going into the future. So ultimately, it'll come down to you and the community.
Yeah, okay, good. Now, what happens if somebody doesn't pay their fee? It's always something that can be a bit concerning to people going into.
Yeah, look, that can be a challenge because ultimately, if you've got 10 units and 2 of them don't pay their bills, the other 8 are needing to take up that slack. We, as Body Corporate Manager, have a lot of processes in place for dealing with this, and you know, the debt collection processes begin relatively early after payment is due. So people get a reminder, then they get chased up. They can be charged interest, and they are charged debt collection fees from making those payments late. Ultimately, the Tenancy Tribunal is the body to whom we take debt collection disputes when we're trying to collect the fees. And then into the, you know, in the absolute worst case scenario, there are mechanisms by which the body corporate can generally get paid when a sale of the property is effected. And in the really, really unfortunate circumstances, bodies corporate can actually work through the process of getting an administrator appointed to effect a sale of the unit and make those pay. The reality is that doesn't happen. It doesn't generally get to that sort of worst case scenario very often, but those mechanisms do exist should they become necessary.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know that that's in place in the event that it's required. Yeah, okay. So in terms of involvement with the body corporate, how involved do you need to be if you're looking at buying an apartment? Do you need to go to meetings, and what level of involvement do people need to have?
So first and foremost, you have to be a member. We do occasionally get people sending us a note saying they don't want to be part of our club anymore, which that's not how being part of a body corporate works. But I mean, here's the thing. When you buy into a unit title development, you're buying into a community. And Ockham developments in particular, there's a lot of thought and care put into creating community spaces. So you as an owner, the more involved you become in that community, the more valuable the community is going to be, the more you're going to get back. So I encourage people to get involved in the body corporate. You've got to have a committee, you've got to have a chair, and how good those people are and how involved they are has a lot to do with the vibe, if you like, around the complex. But you as an owner getting involved and being supportive of initiatives run by your committee, it's really important. And it's like living in a neighbourhood and never looking out the window. Why would you do that? Why would you buy into a community and not be part of it? So you don't have to, absolutely you can simply pay your fees and say nothing. But it's like society, it's like community in general. The more you put in, the more you get back.
Yeah, of course, yes. Okay, that's great. Thank you so much, Helen. If anybody wants to know more about body corporates, is there, could they call Crockers, and is there anyone they could chat to, or what's the best?
If you've got questions about body corporates in general, there are some really good resources on the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment Tenancy Services site. They've got some great material there which explains all of the legalese and the jargon in the background. For owners, once they become part of a community that we are the community manager for, we do run regular sessions for our clients to take them through some of the basics of body corporate living and the things that we get questions about a lot. So there's lots of ways to get involved and learn more.
Okay, well, we'll definitely post some of those along with this Q&A session. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay, thank you so much, Helen. Really appreciate your time today.
It's been a pleasure as always, Joss. Kia ora.
Take care. Okay.